I'm Hank Briggs, third-generation farmer from Nebraska, and let me tell you the day the HOA president crashed her $90,000 Mercedes into my combine harvester. That was the day everything changed. It was a cold mid-November morning just like any other. I was out there doing what I do best, harvesting corn, dust hanging thick in the air, diesel engine rumbling beneath me. It was the sound of another day's work. Life was simple. It was peaceful. And then, out of nowhere, I saw it. A white Mercedes barreled across my field like it was on a mission, and before I could even process what was happening, boom! It slammed right into my stationary combine, the sound of metal screaming as the airbags went off in a cloud of smoke. I'm standing there, mouth open, and this woman stumbles out of the car in heels, mascara running down her face, already on the phone with 911, screaming at the dispatcher, "Arrest him. He's trespassing on HOA land." Just like that, everything shifted. The second she hit my tractor, she handed me everything I needed to take her down. She just didn't know it yet. 16 months earlier, my life had been as quiet as a farm on a Sunday morning. I was Hank Briggs, 52 years old, running a 160-acre farm outside Lincoln, Nebraska. My grandfather bought the land in 1952 with cash he saved from the war, $8,000 for land that's now worth close to $3 million. My dad took over in '79, and then I took over in '98 after I married Patty. We raised 2 kids, both of whom moved to the city because farming's hard. I get it. But farming's also life. It's the smell of fresh-cut corn, the rhythm of the seasons, and a steady, simple routine that gives you a peace you can't find anywhere else. That peace was shattered when Patty passed 3 years ago. Cancer. And after she died, the farmhouse still smelled like her lavender soap sometimes, like she'd just walked out of the room. I kept her garden going, grew tomatoes, green beans, and sunflowers taller than the fence. The kids visit twice a year, but the rest of the time it's just me, 200 chickens, and the cornfields stretching out to the horizon. Life was simple again. Quiet. Then in 2019, everything changed. Cornerstone Homes bought the Polson farm next door, and just like that, Prairie Meadows Estates sprang up a development of 200 homes each with a price tag starting at $750,000. The bulldozers came in, leveling the land, demolishing the barn Bill Polson built in 1947 like it was nothing. The dust clouds rolled in thick enough to hide my own fence line. I watched as a neighborhood sprouted where I used to see nothing but farmland. I didn't care much. I figured it wasn't my circus, not my monkeys. But when they needed an easement for utilities, the project manager, a guy named Ron, came to me. He offered me $20,000, but I told him, "Give me $1. He looked at me like I was crazy. But I wanted something in writing, an ironclad easement that guaranteed the HOA would have no control over my land, no authority over what I farm, no one telling me how to run my operation. We got a lawyer, drafted it, recorded it with the county. And I framed that $1 bill in my kitchen. It was my best investment, or so I thought. Then in August 2020, Maureen Falstead moved in. She was 58, a California transplant who drove a white Mercedes GLE that probably cost more than my tractor. She had that look, athleisure outfits, designer sunglasses, the kind of haircut that requires regular maintenance. Her husband, Todd, worked in tech and kept to himself, invisible. Maureen was different. Within a year, she'd become HOA president. And by year 3, people in Prairie Meadows were genuinely scared of her. She fined a veteran $200 for parking his work truck in his own driveway. She made a young couple repaint their shutters because the beige was 2 shades off what was approved. She even measured people's garden gnomes with a tape measure to make sure they didn't exceed the 12-inch limit. A garden gnome, 12 inches. I wasn't part of the HOA, so I thought I was safe. I thought I was immune to her little reign of terror. But then in June 2023, I got a certified letter, on professional letterhead, no less. My farm violated the HOA's aesthetic standards. I needed to install $40,000 worth of privacy hedges, pave my gravel driveway, and paint my barn in approved colors. At first I laughed. Then I read it again, and the laughter stopped. She wasn't joking. She honestly thought she had authority over land my family had owned for 71 years. I threw the letter in the recycling and went back to work. That was my first mistake. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. It was Emily Tran from the Lincoln Journal-Star. Mr. Briggs, I'm calling about a complaint from Mrs. Falstead. She says your farm is creating environmental hazards, pesticide runoff, rodent infestations. She's holding an emergency HOA meeting tonight, and I wanted to hear your side. I stood up, wiped grease off my hands with a shop rag. Ma'am, I run an organic farm. Have for 12 years. No pesticides. As for rodents, I've got barn cats. That's how farms work. Emily paused. That's not what Mrs. Falstead said. Yeah, I know. Mrs. Falstead wouldn't know a combine from a riding mower. I met her the next day. I showed her my USDA organic certification, my Audubon Society Wildlife Habitat Award. The photos of my farm were cleaner than any suburban lawn. Emily took photos, asked smart questions, and by the end she was shaking her head. This isn't blight. It's cleaner than most lawns I've seen. Then she showed me photos of my barn photoshopped to look like it was rotting with trash piles and rusted junk added digitally. These were the images Morin had distributed at the last HOA meeting. I wasn't going to get emotional. But this was different. This was my grandfather's land. She was lying about it, lying to an entire community. Emily wrote a story. The headline, Local Farmer Battles HOA Overreach. She detailed my farm, my certifications, and made sure to note that county records showed my property was outside HOA jurisdiction, thanks to the 2019 easement agreement. The comments on the story exploded. People from all over started sharing their own HOA horror stories. By noon, the story had been shared 4,000 times. It felt good, vindicating. People from Prairie Meadows called me apologizing, saying they'd been misled. Tim Brennan, a contractor, said I didn't know she was lying. But Morin wasn't done. She sent a cease and desist letter claiming I defamed her by telling the truth to a reporter. I called Boone Cavanaugh, an old family friend and real estate lawyer. Boone laughed when he read the letter. This might be the dumbest cease and desist I've ever seen. Truth is a defense to defamation, Hank. You can't lose. I kept the paperwork. Then Boone sent her a letter outlining every lie she'd told and warning her that further harassment would result in a countersuit. The best part, I posted the 2019 easement agreement online for everyone to see. 2 weeks later, I found out that Moran had installed fence posts along my property line. They were 15 feet inside my land, claiming them as HOA property. I called Grace Mendoza, the county surveyor, who came out and confirmed that those posts were on my land. I also called Greenscape Solutions, the landscaping company who'd installed them, and they confirmed that Moran had misrepresented the property lines to them. They pulled the posts and refunded her $1,200 immediately. The truth was coming out piece by piece. But it didn't stop with the fence posts. By the time harvest season rolled around, I had my cameras in place, my neighbors ready to record, and the county sheriff's office on alert. On harvest day, November 16th, as I was out there doing what I do best, harvesting corn, Moran showed up. She walked across my property past the survey stakes, heading straight for my combine. The deputy tried to stop her, but she ignored him. She got in her Mercedes, gunned the engine, and plowed it into my combine. The sound of metal crunching the airbags exploding Moran had driven right into my property, and the damage was all hers. But it was her undoing. Sergeant Reyes arrived, assessed the scene, and arrested her on the spot for reckless driving, criminal mischief, and trespassing. But that wasn't the end of it. Moran was arrested, sued, and ordered to pay restitution. Her career as HOA president ended, and the board voted to revoke her authority. And the best part, I kept farming. The land my family had cleared, the crops my grandfather planted, I wasn't just protecting it, I was securing its future. 2 weeks later, Morin pleaded guilty. Her punishment: 6 months suspended jail time, 100 hours of community service at the food bank, and restitution for my legal fees. The HOA held emergency elections and the bylaws changed. It was a win for me, but more importantly, it was a win for the people who believed in me, the neighbors who thought they were in the right. They realized they'd been misled by someone who thought her authority was above the law. I'll keep farming this land, my grandfather's land, same fields, same combine, same work. And here's the moral of the story: document everything. Know your property lines, and never assume they'll play by the rules just because you're right.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video. Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.